Welcome back to the Sit and Talk podcast, where I sit down and talk about whatever's on my mind. Today, I have a really fun podcast, I think. I mean, it's been a long one in the making. I started making this podcast actually on April 9th last month. What I did was I deleted all my social media. So, yesterday, like I said, was my 1 month declutter day, and I was inspired by these guys on YouTube. They're called Yes Theory, and they basically just um, one of their members deleted social media for a month, and he basically just documented his life, how it was, how he felt, like what he had more time to do, didn't miss about it, what he did miss about it, and that's what really inspired me. I've been watching them for a while, and I've always liked what they did, and then that was finally something where I was like, whoa, it's kind of something I've been wanting to do for a while now. I just never really pulled the trigger on it, and now that I have this is just kind of like an inspiration for me to do it. And alongside doing that, I read a book that they recommended called Digital Minimalist. I don't know who it's by right now because I don't have it. I gave it to someone to read as well, but that book was, I think if I wouldn't have had that book alongside doing this, I would have very quickly went back to downloading all my social media because I would have just found it pointless. But that book really opened my eyes and showed me, ever since smartphones came around, there's just been, like, for example, in universities, before smartphones came out, um, universities university counselors, they said that they had problems with things like homesickness or OCD or just having a hard time getting accustomed to the new location or the new uni, whatever it was. But then as soon as smartphones started coming out and people started having like really just access to smartphones, they said that uni counselors said that it went from those problems that they were used to having to just anxiety. Everybody had anxiety, and that was like one of the first things that stood out to me in the book because I did realize that once I deleted my social media, I did feel a lot less anxious. It was something that I just kind of noticed. I didn't have that thing in the back of my mind like, ooh, what's happening? What's going on? Like, I should check something. What's going on? Like, who's doing what right now? Where is everyone? Like, did someone message me? Did someone not message me? It was very strange, but I lost that sense of, I don't know if you want to call it urgency to check my phone, but I just lost the sense of even wanting to check my phone. It wasn't something that I was like, oh yeah, like I'm on the metro right now, I have nothing to do, let's check my phone. I don't know, it's just something that never really appealed to me anymore once I didn't have anything on my phone to check. Of course, I think after the first 3 days, I stopped doing the little reach into my pocket, feel my phone, and then think, oh, wait, there's nothing to do on it. Like, why would I pull it out right now? And then I just take my hand out of my pocket. But um, after like those first 3 days, I would say it went really, really easy after that. I think just having the right mindset going into it was already something that really, really helped me out. So I went into it already knowing like with those extra hours that I was spending on social media, because I was really spending maybe 7, 8 hours a day on my phone, which is absolutely crazy. And I would say probably 4 to 7 of those hours were normally spent on social media like Snapchat, like Instagram, like Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, just YouTube, just apps that were just wasting my time and were bringing me no benefit. I was spending massive amounts of time on those every single day. So what I did to fill in my time after, because once you delete social media, you kind of need to have goals and plans of what to do, or else you'll get very bored with that extra time. So something that I really started taking much more seriously was my school. I started doing a lot more schoolwork. I can finish way more schoolwork. I'm way more productive throughout the day. Um, and I think that comes from not always having those small interruptions of just checking your phone. Even if you're not going to do anything on it, I don't even touch my phone anymore, and it just keeps me in the groove of whatever work I'm doing or whatever I'm studying or whatever notes I'm taking. It just keeps me in that flow and it never takes me out, which I think is what is really beneficial to that. Also, I've been doing a lot more outdoor stuff like walks and bike rides. I found that bike rides are really relaxing for me because I genuinely enjoy riding my bike anyway. And then being in a city like Amsterdam where bike riding is just super super easy and it's just the best city to bike ride in my opinion. They have bike paths for everything everywhere. Everyone's so aware that there's always bikes around. And there's just so many great parks here that I was able to visit now that I deleted my social media. I would have never went to some of the parks that I've went to, Rembrandt Park or Wester Park. I would have never been able to go to those places and really get to experience that and just be outside and meet people there, study there, read a book there, whatever it was that I was doing. I would have never had those experiences if I still had social media because I would have definitely still just been locked in my room studying in here or wasting time or whatever it was. But I feel like that really, I was really able to do a lot more walks and bike rides. I feel like that was, you know, there's, there has to be some sort of benefit, psychological benefit to just being outside, like in a park, in nature, without any distractions, just kind of with your own thoughts and thinking of stuff. I feel like that has to be really beneficial. Something else that I also really got to do more often now was read. I set myself a goal at the beginning of this year anyway to read once a month, and I've already talked about that. But I found now that I have so much extra time, I think I could easily read 2 or 3 books a month. I don't want to make that a goal just because right now I'm not studying for exams or anything, so I feel like time wise it's working really well for me that I have a lot of time to read. But I feel like as soon as I have something to prepare for, like an exam or midterm test or whatever it is, I feel like then my time will be shifted more towards that anyway, so I won't be able to really read that much. Um, to get to 2 or 3 books a month. But I have noticed that 1 book a month is very, very doable for me. Um, Sometimes I even got to um, reading to 3 times a day. Like I would wake up, I'd read, I'd do my morning stuff, whatever it was, go to the gym, cook, whatever it was, and then I'd sit down and read again, and then I'd do my afternoon stuff, which, bike ride, study a little bit, whatever it was, hang out with a friend, and then I'd come home and I'd read again. And, it was just 10 pages every time I opened the book, but at the end of the day, that's 30 pages that I just read, which is, that's how you that's how you get books done, I guess. That's how I was doing it. I was just reading a little bit every time I sit down, and I don't know, I found it really nice and kind of like a pause in my life, like a daily pause. It was really nice. Also from this, um, I have a deeper sense of gratitude for my mental health. I'm lucky that I never had to struggle with um, depression or any sort of social anxiety or anything like that. I've never really had to struggle with that. And now without social media, I found I just found a greater sense of gratitude for that because I'm a lot more in my thoughts now. I'm thinking a lot more. I'm daydreaming. I'm playing through scenarios in my head, whatever it is. And I've noticed that all those thoughts are relatively positive thoughts. I don't really have, obviously I have negative thoughts, things like, oh, what happens if this would happen, or this situation occurred, how could I make that better, or like, there's obviously some sort of negative thoughts going on in my head. I'm not perfect and only thinking positive, but I did realize that most of my thoughts that I think about are mostly positive, and I'm really really grateful for that because I know that's something that not everybody has in life. And yeah, I think that's it. Just kind of put it into perspective for me how lucky I really am. um what else, let's see. In one time in Rembrandt Park, I was reading The Digital Minimalist, and one of the lines said, "Cultivating a life worth living," and that was kind of that really hit me for some reason. I really thought about that, and I was like, why would you not live a life that you wanted to live? You know, why would you not live a life worth living? And then that's kind of when it just stood out to me that the only reason why I wasn't getting stuff done, or I wasn't as focused, or I wasn't as concentrated, or I wasn't, you know, being as good of a person, whatever it was, is because of my distractions that I had. It was all the procrastinating that I did with Instagram, with YouTube, with Twitter, you know, sitting in bed in the morning for an extra hour just scrolling through Instagram. It's that has no benefit for me, because if I genuinely wanted to know how, say, I don't know, I'll just say an example. Say if I genuinely wanted to know how Kelvin was doing right now, I would just text him and ask, "Hey, how are you doing, man? How's your uni been? How's exams going? How are you? How's footy going?" You know, I would text him. I wouldn't just go on his social media, because social media isn't really how life is. It's the highlights, and it's not everything, and you shouldn't just be building relationships just on the highlights, because I mean, let's be honest, the majority of our life is not highlights. And if you're building your relationship just on highlights, I feel like that would be a very unstable relationship. And now that I don't have social media, I have been valuing personal connections much, much more. Every time I every time I talk to someone, I realize that I'm much more engaged in listening to what they're talking about. Um, I find that my confidence when it comes to social interactions, you know, with random people that I've never met before, I feel like there I've improved immensely now that all the interactions I have are either face to face or a personal interaction, and it's not through WhatsApp or anything like that. And I can't explain it as well, but the digital minimalist explains all the science behind how social interactions work, and how social media social interactions are just a dumbed down version of normal interactions, and it doesn't really satisfy your brain. It doesn't really eliminate that urge for the social interactions. It just wants you to have more and more, but since you don't realize it, you just continue to do it over social media, but that's not really what's fulfilling you. That's not a fulfilling social interaction. And ever since reading that book, and just reading the science behind it, and reading all the testimonies in there or of other people, I've just been able to, I want to say, I've definitely bettered myself in social interactions. And even if the social interaction doesn't go as I want it to, or even if it doesn't, you know, not both of us leave happy in the end, if we had a little argument, whatever it was, I still value those social interactions much more, because I know that that's what I need to do to fulfill my social meter, so to say. Because every human has that. Every human needs a certain amount of social interaction that is face to face. That's not over a text, or excuse me, not over looking through Instagram, or seeing what a Twitter thread says, or what some forum on Reddit says. Every human needs that certain amount of social interaction. And I feel like even if it's not a positive interaction, it's still an interaction that should be valued. So, one thing that I did realize from being able to go to different parks is that I want to be able to visit every park in Amsterdam. There's a couple of main ones that I have gone to so far, like Vester Park, or Rembrandt Park, Fondo Park, obviously, but there's some smaller ones that are just kind of tucked away in the city, like behind some buildings, you know, that not very many people know about, and I want to get to know those kind of parks. I feel like those are the coolest places that you can go, where, you know, the locals go to, I don't know, read a book, or do a little picnic, or something like that. That's what I kind of want to explore those places. And, you know, with a bike in this city, you can go anywhere within like 15 minutes, which is just amazing. So I feel like as soon as the weather becomes a little nicer, because right now I'm looking out and it's all clouds, like there's no blue in the sky. Um, and that's how it's been all week, sadly. I only got to go on a bike ride yesterday for a little bit, but then I even had to rush home because it started raining. But next week should be nice weather again, so I feel like next week I'll be able to really uh, go back outside and study, because I know at the end of April, um, the weather was super nice. It was like 25 degrees and sunny, and I was outside in a park every single day. I take my book, my laptop, and I would take my notes. I'd read a book. I'd do any sort of studying, but it was all outside, and it was so much nicer to be out there. Plus, there I don't have any internet, so I really can't get distracted on anything. I'm just working. I have to do my school stuff, which I find super nice as well. So, I also have like a couple of personal stories that happened, and I just wrote them down real quick just so I could, have them. On April 18th, I was gonna run some errands. I was gonna go to the store and pick up some groceries, and I remember reaching down for my phone and then thinking, what do I really need this for? I'm going to get groceries. Like, what do I need a phone to go get groceries? I'm getting groceries. Like, I don't need this. And I literally out loud said, no thanks. And I threw my phone back down on my bed, and I went out, and that's kind of when I knew that I never really wanted to download any sort of social media or anything like that. That was kind of like a real turning point for me. Like, going out, getting groceries without a phone, that's where I was like, yeah, I definitely don't need social media ever again in my life. Like, it's kind of just a waste of time. I also met a man named Jerry in Rembrandt Park. He was a really nice guy. I could tell that he kind of had something was kind of off with him, and I later learned that he had a stroke, and he has some difficulties communicating now because of that stroke. But he's born and raised in Amsterdam. He's like a real local, and he also um, barely carries a phone. He has a flip phone just for when people really need to talk to him. Um, but yeah, he was a really nice man. We sat, talked probably for 15 minutes, and he just kind of told me about himself, and I told him about myself, and um, yeah, he told me that he finds since he can't do like sport hobbies anymore because of his stroke, he doesn't want to risk anything. He um he just kind of lives by himself now, and he has two cats, and he says that those two cats bring him so much happiness and joy. Just seeing them happy, being with them, talking with them, even though they don't talk back, but everyone does it with their pets. They talk to their pet real quick. He says that really brings him happiness, and he used to live with a couple of roommates, but he just never got along with them because he just felt like he wasn't able to do what he wanted to do. He wasn't able to go out when he wanted to go out and come back home whenever he wanted to. He wasn't able to have his quiet time when he wanted to, and he figures now living by himself, it's the best thing possible for him, which is, you know, super cool way of life. And I would have never had that experience of talking to Jerry if I never deleted my social media. It's just small interactions like that just prove to you how much you're missing out on when you are on social media. So another thing that happened was on April 21st. I was in Vonda Park with Felipe, and we were just kind of hanging out there, enjoying the nature. It was super nice weather. It was 25 and sunny, so we were just outside enjoying everything. And we saw so much stuff that day that we would have never seen if we had social media, and we were just stuck on that, just staring at that. Excuse me. We in Vondo Park, there's NOS dealers that walk around, with the big NOS tubes and fill up balloons, and there's police right there, like watching them right there. And NOS is illegal, and the police they did nothing. It was like super cool to see. We were also trying to spot out as many coke dealers in Vondo Park as we could. There's a couple of pretty obvious ones because they'd literally just walk up to us and say coke, coke, ecstasy. They'd say stuff like that, so we instantly knew that they were coke dealers. But it was kind of funny. We were playing like kind of detective, like trying to spot out some people that kind of looked shady or kind of looked off, or like that were walking in the same circle, the same circuit, like trying to get to the same people. Um, and yeah, it was just kind of funny to watch those people. Later that night, we also went through the city, kind of towards the red light district to the busier part, and we believe that we saw a moped theft. Like we're almost 1,000% sure because he came flying out of one of the Vondo Park canals. He was honking his horn the whole time to get people out of the way. He had a face mask on. He had a helmet on. He was like fully blacked out. No one could tell who he was. And Phil and I nearly got ran over. He was just coming in so hot. He was not stopping for anyone. He was just going. I can't remember if like the orange blinking lights were on. I don't remember if that was happening. It might have been. It might not have been. But we believe that that was definitely a moped theft because no one goes flying out of a super busy touristy canal with a scooter, like really flying. He was probably going like 30 or 40 coming out of the canal onto the main road, which is insane. Like he didn't look, nothing. He was just going. He was trying to get where he was going. He didn't care if he got hit because then it would just be over, but he wanted to get where he was going. So we're like 100% sure that was a moped theft that we saw. But after that, we went to Rembrandt Park again, a little 2 days after. And I can't remember if Felipe was with me or not, but I definitely remember watching a woman walking her dog, and the dog like looked over at the lake and just got so excited and just sprinted straight into the lake. And it was like a white dog, and the lake was like it's a little muddy, and then it gets into the water, and the dog was just having a blast, running through the mud, into the water, everything. And the owner was so annoyed because she had to clean that dog before she went back into her apartment or house, whatever it was. She definitely had to clean that dog, and it just reminded me of my dog Nicky because he always loves just walking around in the water as well and getting his paws wet and dirty, and we always had to clean him every time we wanted to go back in. And it just kind of brought back like a little nostalgic memories from that because I hadn't seen him in over 4 months at that point. That was the longest I think I've ever gone without seeing my dogs. And just seeing a little dog that's a little rascal like Nicky, it just kind of brought back those nostalgic memories of him, which was it was really nice. So by the end of the time Phil left, Leon had also visited by then, um, and I managed to convince Leon and Felipe to delete social media, and they're both I think like a week and a bit in now, and I kind of asked them to describe their what they deleted and what their experiences have been, and Felipe said um, he's been 7 days no social media. He deleted Instagram, YouTube, and Snapchat because that's what he spent all of his time on. And what his experience was is that he's 100% more productive now. He's more motivated and focused to work at his goals and achieve, just work at his everyday work, like doing his DJing stuff, whatever it is for uni, reading. He said that he's way more focused on that stuff and he's not procrastinating at all anymore. Um, and that he's learning to appreciate social interactions much more, like being with people and being around people. He's learning to appreciate that time a lot more. And I've FaceTimed Felipe a couple times now, like at the end of the day. And one thing that I have noticed with him is that he really finishes like all of his work, like he's done with it, and then he has really nothing to do at the end of the day. And yeah, he's kind of bored at the end of the day, which is, I guess that's kind of the right way to do it. Like, if you can get all your work done, that's a good day. Like afterwards, you can just kind of relax. You can either go on a walk, go on a bike ride, hang out. I know yesterday he spent I think probably like 30 45 minutes cleaning 4 pairs of shoes, just outside sitting on his balcony, just doing something therapeutic like that. It shows that he's really motivated and doing all his work that he has to do throughout the day. The second person was Leon, obviously. He told me that he deleted Instagram and Snapchat because those were the ones that he really wasted all his time on. And he's also been a little more than a week now without it, and he said that he feels more present and focused. He's reading much more often. It really set a perspective for him for what he wants to do for videography and photography, because he used to only do it to post it to social media, and now without that channel, he has to figure out why he's doing videography and photography, and he's figuring out he's doing it for himself and he's doing it for friends or whatnot. He also said that he feels much more confident in social settings. And excuse me. He feels much more confident in social settings. He's enjoying the time he spends with people way more. And he said that he feels much more social without social media, which kind of stood out to me because I feel the exact same way. I feel much more social. I feel much more approachable. I feel like I can approach people more easily. I feel like I can just hold a conversation much more easily. I feel like I feel like without social media, all those skills that are kind of being suppressed and being overrun by social media, all those skills are now starting to become developed again, which is really cool. And I feel like that's going to be something super beneficial in the future, is being able to, be a good talker and a good listener and really hold conversations. I feel like that'll be super super helpful in my future, whether it's personal life, business life, whatever it is. But yeah, that's the things that they said about this social media declutter. And I can also say that for me personally, I've been much more productive in everything I'm doing. I'm much more focused on my goals. I'm much more focused on school, on uni. I'm much more focused on this podcast. I'm much more focused on making real social connections. I noticed through this, I even started planning my weeks out. I'll plan out like what fitness activities I'm doing throughout the week. When I have footy, like what I have to study every day, what I have to work on every day. Yeah, and I just figured that I'm just much more productive and I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. I'm not feeling like I'm a slave to anything anymore. Like, that's how it really was for me in my phone. I used to feel like I couldn't go anywhere without my phone, and now I feel like it's like yesterday I went to the grocery store without my phone. I went on a bike ride without my phone. I've just been doing a lot more stuff, just trying to get away from my phone and just try and become like a human. Just not anything with online social media or anything like that really isn't real. That's just kind of fake. So yeah, as I said, yesterday was my 1 month day. I feel like I have much more time for things like cooking, fitness, reading, and studying. And I also feel like I have a greater sense of freedom. I don't know what everyone else is always doing. I don't know where everyone else is. I don't know when people have exams. I don't know any of that stuff, like right off the top of my head. Like I would know if I had social media and I was, checking Instagram stories or WhatsApp stories or Snapchat stories, whatever it is. I don't know what everyone is doing right now. I don't know what people are doing today. I don't know who's visiting who today. I don't know any of that. And I feel like since my mind doesn't have to think about that, I just have so much room in my head to think about other stuff and myself and what I want to do. And yeah, I feel like it's just given me a much greater sense of freedom. It's allowed me to really, really invest in myself and put time into me and what I want to do. And I feel like that's one of the coolest things ever, really. Yeah. I mean, I know I'm never going to be getting social media again. I'm not interested in it. I might download Snapchat just to see what people have sent me, because people have told me like, "Hey, why don't you ever answer your Snapchats anymore?" Like, I have had a couple of people tell me that, so I might just download that just out of curiosity to see what they sent me, and then delete it again right after. But I don't know, it's not something that I'm really urging to look at or anything like that. It's actually yeah, it's really, really nice not having any distractions like that. And I don't think I'm ever going back. I can't wait for Felipe and Leon to be done with their 1 month. I hope I hope they also have the same experience that I've had. I know they're having the same experience, but over a longer period of time, and I'm curious to see if either of them download it. I feel like they might, just because they're going to uni next year, and it's kind of a good way to connect with people and get to know people and everything. So I could definitely understand why they would download it again. But if they don't download it, huge respect. Like, that'd be a super cool way to enter into uni without any social media, and you really are forced to go out and make friends. You're forced to go to you're forced to go to school events, you're forced to go to parties, you're forced to go out to bars that you normally wouldn't go to just meet people and get to know people. I feel like that'd be a super cool way to start your uni. I kind of wish that I did it like that, but you live and you learn. So yeah, if there's any one thing that I hope people can take away from this, is don't be afraid to try it. It's really not that bad. It's actually quite easy. As soon as you're in the right mindset for it, it's super, super easy to do, and you'll instantly notice a difference in your life. You instantly will. You'll notice how much more productive you are, how much more focused you are. I would say it's probably the greatest thing that I've done since I came to uni. Now, some tips that I would give for people that are thinking about doing this: set yourself goals, set yourself a plan, figure out what you're going to do in all of that free time that you don't spend on social media. Because if you don't do that, then you truly, truly will become bored, and you will just think, hey, why am I doing this? What is the point of this? This is not helping me in any way. I'm literally just bored all day long. And if it's like that, then yeah, you got to set yourself some goals and try again, because you can't just go into this and delete everything and hope that your life will become productive. You got to really put some effort into it, some planning, some thinking. And then if you have all that right, you'll get into that groove, you'll get into that working flow, and it'll come super easy for you to just go sit down and do some work, or go over and read a book. It'll become like natural to you. So yeah, guys, I hope that you guys all took something away from this. I hope you all found it a little interesting. I hope you guys might consider doing it yourself now. I don't know, maybe in summer or something, so you can really just enjoy the time with your friends that you are in your hometown with. Like, for us, it'd be Diedorf, really enjoy that time that you have with those people that you only get to see a couple times in a year. Really get to spend time with your family that you normally wouldn't if you guys all were on your phone. Like, just maybe in the summer for a couple weeks, try and do it, or try and do it in uni if you want to become more productive. Whatever it is, it's a fun little experiment to do with yourself. But thank you guys so much for listening. I really do hope that you guys took something useful out of this. And if any of you guys do end up doing this, please text me about it. I'm curious. I want to know how your experiences are, and kind of what goals you set for yourself, and what you're going to try and achieve. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope to see you guys next time.